Alright, this is for Biljana, and basically she has some wants a critique on this. Okay, so the first thing that I would say right off the bat is what's your facial proportions? Um, Generally, when you look at this, you want to build. So if we build like a center line here, um, your eyes are generally five eyes wide. So basically, what happens is um, looking at your proportions here, you can see that you have um, very disproportionate, very small eyes. So the eyes need to be bigger. The other thing is from the center of the eyes down, it basically leads into the nose cavity, which you've got kind of at an angle, and then, or I'm sorry, from the insides of the eyes down. From the center of the eyes down, you have your mouth. So your mouth needs to be wider. And basically, this needs to be on a proportional scale um, of basically half vertical, half down, but it's also a breaks it into smaller sections here. So learn the facial proportions, and that's going to help you out a little bit more. Um, so in this case, what I would do is I would grab these eyes. Actually, let's just feather that up a little bit here. So, and by making them a little bit bigger, and like so, then what I would do is I would probably do the mouth a little bit wider. So, looking at the mouth, you're probably looking at something like this. And the other thing is you want to get your light source defined. Um, and what I mean by that is that you've got kind of light going from all over the place. And so what I would say right off the bat is you've got kind of a female face going on, which is fine, but then you need to have a little bit more interest in there as far as your other aspects. So define your light source a little bit more. And so if you're using this as a light source and it's coming from, I'll just draw a note up here. So if it's coming from this area, what you want to do is define it's not coming straight forward, it's coming from the side. So you're defining the sides of the mouth. You're getting more up here as far as light. You're probably getting a little bit more up here. You're getting some up here as far as this goes, and so you want to define the light source itself. And what I would do is I would probably the ear kind of looks backwards, so I'd probably rework the ear a little bit more and straighten out that head. The other thing is you want to have the highlights up here as far as where your light's coming from, and then you're going to have a lot more shadows underneath and something like that. And then as you go, it's going to get a lot darker in here. Um, the other thing is, so that's flattening out the nose here and creating kind of a blend here. So you want to, like I said, pop that information out. And then on the dark sides, on this side of the nose, it would be dark. You'd have a shadow angling something like this. And so you want to block out those individual shapes. You probably have a little bit dark up there, probably on this side, definitely under the eyes. And if you're going to do the blue, do like a dark blue under the undersides of the eyes so that it makes much more visual sense. The hair, like unless you're shaving like every day, you're going to have stubble up here. And so what I would say right in that aspect, what I would tell you to do is to, let's see here, grab, I think something like that. So you want to grab your darker color, oops, and you want to play with your shape dynamics and create some sort of stubble going on. And especially if you've got it up here, it depends if you've got, the 5 o'clock shadow, maybe even something up here to give you that stubble idea, like so. Then what you want to do is you want to also, all right, you also want to make sure that I think your neck needs to be a little bit bigger. And again, be consistent with your lighting, because if your light's coming over here, you're going to have highlights over here. The other thing, when you do tattoos, tattoos don't have solid color on them. They essentially, what they do is they have a, let me see if this will work here. They kind of have like almost highlights from the skin, so it's this little like spotted texture almost. And then because your skin's actually poking through, and it's not a multiply, it's not dark blacks like that. It's actually the black ink generally at the quality turns it into kind of a green as it ages. So you want to also blur your tattoos too. So essentially what you're doing is, let me just, and you're essentially doing a Gaussian blur, not that bad. Let's go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. You're probably doing just a base blur, like something like that, and then you are, adding a little bit of that stipple to it, that things are poking through, and kind of blending it. It's not as tight of a stipple as that. And then if you're having a close-up this far, you want to add a texture pattern to the cloth as well. And it doesn't matter what it is, just that you have that pattern going on. So let me just find a real quick texture here. It's hard to look at this stuff when you're left-handed. Fur cloth. Okay, so we're just going to grab a real quick texture pattern here. Pick my dark color and something like this. There's a ton of different patterns you can toss on. You can toss on kind of a and maybe even just grab some of that highlight and adding some texture to it. Especially this up and close. You want to pay attention to that. So those are things that I would say right off the bat is you just want to add that a little bit of texture to it, and that'll give you a little bit more interest going on. You know, and the hair even will have form. So if your lighting is coming from this direction, you want to darken one side to give it form and shape. Same thing over here. You want to darken wherever that light is not hitting. You kind of want to really pay attention to that aspect and kind of build up the form on the hair. So, you know, overall, what you're looking at between the two is a lot more defined form, you know, and basically clean up the edges and stuff like that. So you really want to pay attention to that aspect going on. Get your form in there, get the right shadows and stuff like that, and then dumb down the tattoos a little bit more. They would also not be as let's see here. They wouldn't be as dark, so I'd probably go into the levels and maybe play with them so that you don't get let's take out some of this so that they're a little bit more faded, and that's going to help significantly too. All right, I hope that helps.